just lately we were approached by Department of Human Services with a contract for providing housing for youth who would be in foster care
Oh, yeah.
if it were not for the services that we're going to offer. So
Oh, that's awesome. Do you use social media like Facebook, Twitter?
we don't use Twitter. We do have Facebook, and we have a website, of course.
Yeah.
That's something we're kind of always working at because it becomes out of date so quickly.
Oh, yeah. I know. I don't know how to use Twitter, and I'm 22, so and it's become such a big part of just business organizations' way of getting their name out. Period.
Definitely.
There's classes just on social media at school, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to work any of this stuff.
Yeah, Harvest House Missions Facebook has a lot of people who are friends who aren't even from Oregon or Idaho.
Yeah.
That are from other parts of the country. And another thing that happens every so often is somebody in this area will pass away, and their family, who's our Facebook friend, will send a memorial, and they're honored to us.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so Facebook is definitely.
Well, yeah, even getting the word out internationally is huge. I know that NGOs really use social media to get that kind of stuff across. Yeah. What has been the most successful outreach for you? Would that be just meeting people out of circumstance or social media? Or?
I think probably word of mouth is still, especially in a community this small, word of mouth is still probably the most effective way to get the word out. We're a small community, and people know people, and it just kind of passes through that way. Social media is great and gets us beyond our community. But I'd say here in the community, it's still person to person.
Yeah, I think social media just takes it one step farther.
Yeah, and helps people keep track once they are aware of us. You can put your most up to date information on your Facebook.
Yeah,
it's easy and quick, and so it helps people keep track of what's going on.
Well, and a big trend too is people want to know who they're giving their money to more so than ever because we don't have as much of it. Right. And I think being an extrovert, that is something that I think is incredibly important. Is person-to-person outreach.
Right.
Right. Where have you been successful with Harvest House, and where have you struggled the most?
Well, we always struggle with money.
Yeah. Nonprofit.
Yeah, nonprofits, I think that's pretty common. Probably where I believe we've been the most successful is our reputation in this community.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've spent a lot of time and effort to make sure that it stays positive. That even if we're having to tell people no, that we're treating them with respect and letting them know, we would help them if we could, letting them know why we can't, those kind of things that I think really make a difference. I've had very few people, we get probably 10 calls a day of people asking for help. We're able to maybe help one a day, but I've never had anybody mad at us when they hung up because I think they knew that
you're doing what you can.
Right, exactly.
What would you do differently, and do you what have you continued to do that has been successful?
So I don't know if I would do it differently. I don't know if I could. When I began Harvest House Missions, I knew nothing about starting a nonprofit or a business or anything else, and I kind of just started doing it. And we have made some mistakes along the way. We've had things that we started and didn't work out, and we've had to close them. But whether I do it differently, I don't know. I think we learned something through all those things.
Well, and it's gotten you here.
Yeah, and we'll probably continue to make mistakes because you think something's going to work, or you think this is the direction God wants you to go, but it's not like it's written on the wall.
Exactly.
We make mistakes. What we've done well, I think, we've been careful not to overextend ourselves.
Which is really easy to do.
Yeah, we've watched other people maybe apply for those great big grants that bring in a lot of money, but then you also have to do the services that you say you're going to do with all that money, and we've seen that get people in trouble where their infrastructure wasn't big enough to handle. So we don't chase money really.
Yeah, good.
We find out if something's going to work for us, kind of research it, and then look and see if there's a way to support that.
Well, I think it's interesting too that you say that you didn't know anything about nonprofit because everybody that I've talked to, that's what gets people going and continue in success is not having the education, but it's based off of compassion and passion, and that's what drives you. It's never going to be the money. It's never going to be those things. It's going to be your mission throughout the whole thing, which is really cool, and I've always loved that. What advice would you give me as a nonprofit student getting ready to graduate and enter into this work?
Know how to write grants.
Yeah.
Spend some time learning how to do that. I guess the other thing, because I get approached probably a couple times a year about people who want to meet with me about starting a nonprofit for one thing or the other, and it's a really slow process. I mean, yeah, it's fast to get your nonprofit. You just have to have money to pay for it.
Yeah.
But to actually get something off the ground, I think people, say they won't come to me and they say, I want to do a transitional living program for veterans, but they really want that in a year.
Yeah, and you're like,
I'm gonna say I want that today, and in a year
yeah,
and it just, things typically don't happen.
That's where it's got to be farther than compassion.
Yeah. I mean, it's slow, and you kind of have to work at it as you go along. I continued to work for Head Start for 4 years after I started Harvest House Missions, and kind of did both at the same time till we reached a place where we had enough money to have a full-time person, because it just doesn't hit the ground running. Usually you have to put some.
Very rarely.
Yeah, and just realize that steady growth usually ends up beating instant success,
Yeah.
So.
And longevity, I think that when you get started with the idea that it's going to go so quickly, you lose longevity, and you lose the whole idea from the get-go. But thank you so much for meeting with me. I feel like the Harvest House has a great name, and I've always loved what you guys have done, and it's a pleasure to be able to sit here and talk with you.
Thank you.
So thank you.